often I get asked about the risks involved with properties and property investing, and how do you eliminate those risks? Well, there's some really basic steps that you can take to do that. Number one, get yourself a team of people around you who actually know what they're doing when it comes to property investing, financing, structuring, taxation, all those sorts of things. As I've said on earlier videos, we've got that all lined up for you to access if that's what you want. But when it comes to risk, make no mistake about it, any type of investment, there's always risk involved. You know, the markets could move, the markets could go down, the markets could go sideways, your property could not be tenanted, your property someone may not pay the rent, someone could break a lease. Stuff like this happens out there, but what you want to do is actually de-risk it as much as you can. So the way you de-risk yourself financially first is getting a full-blown financial assessment done. Okay, so having expert advice on what you specifically can and can't afford. Don't commit yourself to something crazy, and don't go putting yourself into debt that you can't afford to do, right? Get your ego out of the way, just look at the basic numbers and go, you know what, can we comfortably afford to do this? That's the first place you want to move to. When you're at that position and you think you can comfortably afford to do that, you need to then make sure that the right loans and structures are set up correctly for you. Now, when it comes to property and selecting the right property, well, boy, we've opened up Pandora's box here, because there's a minefield out there. You've got Eddie, the expert next door, who he thinks, you know, this suburb over here is going to be a hot spot, and you've got Fred down the road and Bill down at the pub, and they've all got their own views. And every day of the week you see on TV, you see in newspapers, there's different reports floating around all over the place. So you need to find some people around you who can actually provide some really specific data. There's some really strong basics that you stick to when it comes to investing. Okay, you need to be looking for some basic things like population growth. You need to be looking for where there's big infrastructure spending going on. Infrastructure means jobs. Where people work, that's where they want to live. Yeah. You need to be looking for things like your really good solid basics, you know, your good transport, your schools, your shops, your shopping centres, all that sort of infrastructure in play. You need to be looking at areas where you know that there's going to be really good income and rental coming through purely based on rental demand and vacancy rates and things like that. So how do you as an individual go and assess all that information and find that out? Well, the odds are you could probably jump on the net, have a bit of a go at it, have a stab in the dark, and hopefully you hit the target. But you really need some professional help on getting that sorted as to what you can and can't do. Further to that, when you move around, de-risking again is making sure you've got your right insurances in place, making sure you've got a really good strong property manager in place is one of the biggest keys that I think where a lot of people come unstuck. You've probably heard the horror stories at a barbecue where someone's had an investment property and they've had a dodgy rental manager and they've had dodgy tenants and all that sort of stuff. And I'll talk on a video later on about a personal thing that happened with me with one of my properties. But you know what? With anything in life, there's risks involved. But the biggest risk that you could take is to not take a risk at all. Because if you sit and wait another 5, another 10, another 15 years, and you're sitting there in your 30s or 40s now, all of a sudden you get to 50, 55, 60 and you go, well, hang on a minute, I don't have enough super, what am I going to do? Don't wait until it's too late. Take that first step, do the personal wealth review with us. There's no cost at all to do this. We'll sit down and we'll give you a full-blown analysis. We'll tell you whether you can or can't do something with property. We'll tell you whether you're on the right path with your super. We'll tell you whether you're on the right path when it comes to your retirement. So there is no cost, there's no commitment up front, so jump on board. Text your name and details to 0439 541 704. Put your name and email address down and we'll be back in touch with you. Have a great day.